Yeah, I don't.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Conversations with Courageous Cancer Warriors. I am thrilled to have our guest here with us. Gloria Grace Rand is an inspirational speaker, an author, a coach, and a host of Live, Love, and Engage podcast. She helps entrepreneurs develop clarity and confidence to express their unique voice online and off. But it's also true. Welcome, Gloria.
Thank you.
And
Appreciate it.
it's also true that you are a caregiver, correct?
Yes, I have. Not any longer, but in a way, I'm caring for my husband and 2 dogs and 2 cats at the moment. But yes, I have been. Wow, 4 years ago now, almost 5 years ago. Jeez, where does the time go? Holy crud! Yeah. Yeah, it was July of 2015 when my older sister, she was 10 years older than me, got diagnosed with cancer, a rhabdomyosarcoma to be exact, which at her age of, she was 63 at the time, was, it's typically a cancer for kids.
Yeah.
That's who it typically affects. And so right away she was an outlier. and which was the story of her whole journey, was that everything, her whole chemotherapy, was like she always was like on the extreme of things were not quite working as well as they should, because I don't know, her body was just interesting. But yeah, it was a challenging being a caregiver, because she lived in Arizona and I lived in Florida. But she also was not married, divorced, had no kids, was working as a massage therapist at the time. And she wasn't able to work anymore because she couldn't walk. It was affecting where the tumor was. It was right on her psoas muscle. And so it was affecting her leg. And so I'm a business owner, entrepreneur. Luckily, the type of business I have, I did a lot of copywriting for other small businesses. I was able to work anywhere as long as I have internet connection. And so I started flying out to Arizona as often as I could, and definitely when she was going through chemo and radiation treatments, to be with her and help her through that. Because as anybody who's listening has gone through this, it is really hard. It just wipes people out. And so it was, yeah, it was not an easy situation. And at the same time, because there's this 10-year difference in our ages, I didn't actually get to start to really know my sister until after I became an adult. And we hadn't really seen each other that often over the intervening years anyway. And so now we got to spend time together. So that was like one blessing that came out of this. And we got to really bond in a way that we had never been able to do before. And sharing memories of our different childhoods because of that 10-year gap. And also creating new memories too. I mean, when it was Christmas 2015, we made her favorite Christmas cookie that she always used to make. They're called pecan crisps. And as of course a big sister would do, she was criticizing the way I was flattening the cookie dough. And darn it, if she wasn't right, they did come out better. I was very annoyed. But it was, but that was like one of the many good things that came out of the situation. Also just discovering strength that I didn't quite know that I had to be able to manage doing that. I mean, like even literal strength, like, folding up a wheelchair and putting it in the back of the car, and, taking it out again and then helping her into the chair and things like that. Isn't
it amazing what you're able to do when you're just supporting someone else?
Yeah, it is. It is truly amazing. And it was, yeah. I mean, just thinking back to that time, it was yeah, there was a lot of stuff, but and also discovering how really also that the world doesn't always take into account the needs of people in wheelchairs too. Like
Mhm.
I remember just we were going shopping at I think J.C. Penney or something, and they didn't have automatic door to open. So having to like prop open the door to be able to wheel her in, it was like, oh well, actually I think she wheeled herself in, but still it's like ah. So I really gained an appreciation for anybody who's had to get around in a wheelchair and how challenging it can be. Restrooms even and things like that aren't always, even though they're supposed to be ADA compliant, not everybody still is.
And that's what I was going to say, especially now in today's society where ADA is really, there is a huge presence. I'm really surprised to hear. Well, I'm not really surprised because as someone who's also had limitations for part of my life, like,
Mhm.
you know, where I find that it's difficult is that at times people don't support you. Like they see you struggling and they're a little bit afraid to kind of provide that lending hand, that little, that help that will make all the difference. So how did you get through that time? Like, cause that's a lot of stress on you. You're still trying to make sure you're doing, right by your sister. You're still trying to hold your job. You have a relation, you're married, you have children. I mean,
Yeah,
that's a lot on your shoulders.
yeah, it was. And I got to tell you that one blessing I had again for the timing of when this happened was that my son actually was not even, I've got two grown children, a son and a daughter. And my daughter was still living at home. And so she was able to pick up the slack and start doing laundry and getting groceries and cooking meals for my husband, even though sometimes he would complain to me, she's trying to poison me. I was like, no, she's not. Really, honey, you're fine. Um, oh, and at the same time, I was also attempting to lose weight. So I was like following this weight loss plan as I was going through all this. But I tell you, the saving grace for me in managing all of this was that I had a regular meditation practice,
Mm.
and every morning I would do that, and that really made. I absolutely credit that with getting me through it, because I think otherwise, just thinking back on how I used to be, um, and there were still occasional times when, I might snark at her and she was snarking at me because, and of course she had reason to, because she was in pain or whatnot. Um, but, I might not have been able to respond as well, or be able to take a breath and say, okay, it's all right. She's going through stuff. You can handle it. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
meditation is amazing for that. I as well use that throughout my own recovery phase, and even now. And I know my days are so much more fulfilling when I start my day with them,
Mhm.
even if it's a quick 5 minutes,
Yeah.
than actually not having them part of the day at all. So, um, what's your modality? Like, is it something that you just sit in a room, or do you have an app that you
Well,
like?
at the time, I was using actually, I was listening to, it's a program from a company called Centerpoint, and they had this holosync technology that you would listen to these recordings, and it's got, binaural beats and stuff. And so that's what I was doing then. Now I do, either occasionally I do something called Vipassana, because I went on a silent retreat last year for 10 days. And so I was doing that. Now, sometimes I just sit, frankly, and just pay attention to my breathing. Um, so it's evolved. But at the time, yeah, it was just, I could plug in and just, and I was camped out on the couch while she was in her, she lived in a, well, 2-bedroom house, but one room was her office. Um, Although I did, well, we did have an air mattress in there. So it's either the air mattress or the couch. Sometimes the couch was more comfortable, frankly.
Absolutely, right? Isn't that something?
Yeah.
So I am amazed by the silent retreat. Would you like to tell us a little bit about that? That's always
Oh,
been on my list. It's on my list to do, and I just haven't had the courage to do it yet.
you know what? Do it whenever you have the opportunity. Um, now, because it was so funny when the first day I was like talking with a woman who I'm still connected with, who's just like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know that I can like go 10 days without talking to anybody. Oh my gosh. And, I think I'm going to leave. And I was like, I think I could do this. I actually, I'm an introvert at times and like the time being alone. But I will tell you what I missed was not being able to write. We couldn't write either. So it's like I could deal with the not talking to people, but it was like I couldn't journal. And I'd be like, thoughts would pop into my head. I'd be laying on this bunk bed going, okay, God, can you help me remember this so when I get home I can write this stuff down? Because there's some really great stuff coming through here, but I can't write it down.
And
But
what's the
it was
intention of
awesome.
them not allowing you to write? Is that because it's another form of expression?
Yeah, because they just really wanted you to just be totally present to what's going on and not have the external. And so it's really it's where I learned the Vipassana style of meditation. So it's really about paying attention to your body and the sensations in it. Um, and it was a lot of meditating. So it was actually a little painful, so, the first few days and sitting for hours and hours at a time. But then it got better. And so it really was, it was absolutely life-changing. And I highly recommend it. Don't necessarily have to do 10 days. You could start off with maybe 3 days. Or
It's kind of what I was just thinking in my head.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like, I
yeah.
don't know if I could do 10 days.
Yeah. 1 day, a weekend, it's fine. I tend to dive at it. I mean, I do like running and walking. And so I'd never run for years. After my mom passed, I decided, oh, I got a thing in the mail from this, how to train to end stroke for the American Heart Association. Okay, I'll sign up to do a marathon, the full marathon.
That's
Like,
amazing.
haven't done a 5K or anything. So like I say, I just kind of like dive in. That's just me.
And how did the marathon go?
That first one, unfortunately, it was at Walt Disney World, and at the time, this was 2005, they did the full marathon and half marathon on the same day.
Mm-hmm.
And I made a rookie mistake and wound up being too slow, and they pulled me off. And so I only finished the half marathon, but it made me so mad that I said, I'm coming back next year. And I did. And this time I raised money for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society.
Love that.
And I completed it. It took me, God, over 7 hours, but I did it.
Oh my God, that's amazing. I've only ran a half marathon. And when I was done with my half, I'm like, I want to do this again. Maybe I'm going to do a full. And then I got to my senses and I'm like, what am I doing? I'm not doing it. So I haven't,
really.
but
Yeah, half marathons are good. I did one more, and it was only because a childhood friend of my daughter's was diagnosed with leukemia. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go do it again to raise money for them. But after that one, and it was funny, I left a message for my sister on her phone that she saved, where I was like, don't ever let me do this again. Don't ever, ever, ever talk me out of it. Don't let me do a full marathon again.
oh my goodness, I could completely relate to that. Absolutely. It sounds like a really great idea at the time.
Yeah, exactly.
So through all of that, then how did you become an inspirational speaker? And were you always an author? Like, how did you get to where you are today?
I've always been a writer of some form or another. I mean, even before I started my own business in 2009, I was helping out at my kids' schools, writing newsletters, press releases, etc. But yeah, this is it's an interesting story. So in unfortunately, my sister transitioned in December 2016, but in October. Probably right around the time she went into the hospital because she was having some major complications. I was meditating at home. I just come back from a conference, women's conference, business conference. And this idea came into my head: you have to write a book about love. And I'm like, what? I do marketing, online marketing. What do I know about love? That's crazy. And then I sat down, and it was like, love is an acronym, and it's like these 4 steps and how to, really help you do this. And it was like, okay. And then I go to my email, I'm going through my email, and then there's a message, or there's an email from Hay House. They're offering a writer's boot camp on how to write a book. So I'm like, okay, you really want me to write a book, don't you? Okay, fine. I signed up for it. and then of course life got in the way, and, and then my sister passed, and I was dealing with all of the grief. But part of what was going on, but part of this boot camp was were running a contest so that you could win a contract with them to write your book. And so at the last minute, I finally sat down, wrote a chapter. I was working with a coach at the time, and I got it done. So that part of it, I got one chapter done, started it. And then in continuing to work with my coach, and at the time I was still doing more things, like I was studying A Course in Miracles. I was doing a lot. And this business coach that I hired turned out to be more of helping me explore my spirituality. And he kept encouraging me to step out and start. He said, you've got a message, you need to start sharing it. And so I did. I went to a networking meeting once where I was supposed to talk about LinkedIn. They hadn't promoted the message, and I said, is it okay if I talk about something else? And she's like, sure. And so I shared what this book is about, and I got a really good response from it, and that sort of encouraged me. And so then I started doing like Facebook Lives. I think it was about a year and a half ago or something. I did for about over a month, where I read something called the Daily Word from Unity, which is something my mom used to read a long time ago, and that I got pulled back into that, and it just lights me up. And so that, again, it's like, this is one of the blessings. I think it was that I really believe in a way that my sister Michaela had to go through this stuff to help me to awaken to my true purpose, which is to share this message. And it's like so needed right now. And I'm so grateful to have that opportunity.
Especially right now, we have such an uncertain time, and everyone's just living from fear, right? And it's like, that's exactly what the Course in Miracles, because it's something that I do routinely, where like, if I find myself getting off the wagon, then I kind of get back to the book, right?
Yeah.
And that's the whole purpose of the book. For those listening that may not be familiar, it's Marianne Williamson, and it's A Course in Miracles. And the whole foundation is that you come from love.
Yeah.
Right. Everything that you do, and every interaction and every conversation, you just come from love. And that love is the greater purpose. And you're absolutely right. There is no better time than to have this message out. Yeah. So for the listeners, like, what would you like to share with them today?
Well, I've got a Facebook group, and I did a training yesterday that was called Love Your Way Out of Stress. And so it was sharing that. So the L in love is to let go and let God. And it's to really, I know sometimes it can be challenging to let go of the fear and the stress. That's really what stress is. It's really just fear. But that's where tactics like breathing, meditating, prayer, can help in just, this is a great time for us to go within. We're having to be, inside. And so take this time for you, and turn the fear over to God and let God help you. The O is open your heart to receive. So reach out to people. You're not in this alone either. Call people, call friends, call a crisis line if you're really, needing help. There are places out there that can help you. Again, you don't have to do this alone. The V is value your uniqueness. So that's really valuing your feelings and acknowledging, yeah, I'm scared, and that's okay to do that, as long as you acknowledge it and then move past it, and find ways to, be able to handle it. So, but just, value yourself, which leads me to E, which is embrace your divinity. So practice self-love, practice self-care, use affirmations. I love the one from Louise Hay, where she says, everything is resolved for the highest good of all concerned. I have it on a little sticky note in front of my computer on my desk, so I can look down at it when I'm getting, if I see too many posts on social media about, the stuff, it's like, okay, center. So those are the types of things that you can do to really, embrace love, embrace yourself, and so that we can get through this. Because there's still going to be, in the future, even once we get through this, there's going to be stuff. There's always stuff.
There's always stuff.
So, yeah.
Always stuff. It's just we all have our own different version of the same thing.
Yeah.
And we all respond to them differently.
Yeah.
And none of it is right or wrong. It's just what makes us unique. And, I can't agree with you more. We need to be a support for each other. So how can people find you?
Well, I've got a website, which is Gloria Rand, RAND.com. And I've got a Facebook group, as I mentioned. It's called the Live, Love, Engage Spiritual Awakening Community on Facebook. So if you go to actually liveloveengage.com, it'll take you right there. So you don't have to worry about trying to search on Facebook to find it. And, that's a place where, we share inspiring messages and just a way to be able to lift each other up now more than ever. And if you want to even sit down with me and talk about, if you need a little clarity and confidence in this time of you can go to engagewithgloria.com, and that'll take you right to my scheduler and set up a time. I would love to chat with anyone who needs an ear. I will lend an ear and lend any advice that I can to help you out.
And thank you for who you are for this world, especially now, because you are so needed. And thank you for your love and light that you just exudes from you. I know that this is not the last time that you and I are going to have a conversation. And thank you so much for just your grace and just being that powerful spirit that we all need right now.
Oh, thank you so much for doing this. And because I know that you are providing a wonderful service out there for community and people who are dealing with, the normal types of diseases, if we could call that. Holy crap. Sorry, pardon my. But it's like, sheesh, as if we don't have enough on your plate at the moment. But so thank you so much for allowing me to be here with you.
And thank you. And just as a reminder to everyone listening, support is here. I am here. Gloria is here. Find and connect with someone who speaks to you, that allows you to feel that you could speak authentically without holding back. And just know that you're not alone and that we will all get through this together. So Gloria, thank you again so much for your time today.
Thank you, Lori. Appreciate it.